If you keep replaying the same moment, this session is for you. Stoicism does not erase pain, but it can help you stop turning memory into a prison. Tonight's focus is finding a steadier response to let go of love and move on. Use this session as a small practice. Breathe, notice the thought, and choose the cleaner response. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself. This quote gently challenges the idea that happiness lives somewhere far away in the future. We often imagine peace will arrive only after one more achievement, one more answer, one more rescue. But the Stoic view is softer and stronger. A meaningful life can begin inside ordinary moments. A clear mind, a grateful heart, and a modest expectation can change the texture of a difficult day. Enough can feel sacred when you truly notice it. You do not have to wait until life becomes perfect to begin feeling grateful. The Stoics believed gratitude can exist beside difficulty. Sometimes peace begins when you stop demanding that this day give you everything and allow it to give you just enough. Do not explain your philosophy. Embody it. There is a quiet beauty in living your values without needing to announce them. When you are tired, it is easy to explain who you want to be instead of patiently becoming that person. Stoic wisdom invites you back to embodiment. Be gentle instead of describing gentleness. Be disciplined instead of praising discipline. Let your life become your proof. This creates self-respect, and self-respect brings a kind of peace that does not depend on applause. Embodiment is especially healing when you are tired because action restores trust in yourself. Even a small act of integrity can soften shame and strengthen resolve. The life you want is not built in one leap. It is built in repeated proof that you can still honor your values. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Thoughts are not decorations. They become atmosphere. They shape the emotional climate you live inside every day. If your thoughts are harsh, hopeless, and restless, your inner life becomes hard to inhabit. But if your thoughts are honest, patient, and steady, even difficulty feels more workable. Stoicism does not ask for fake positivity. It asks for cleaner thinking. Speak to yourself with courage and clarity. The quality of your inner words changes the quality of your entire day. A disciplined mind is not a rigid mind. It is a caring mind that refuses to repeat needless cruelty. When you correct your thoughts, you are not pretending everything is easy. You are choosing language that makes endurance possible and growth more likely. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This is a reminder that your deepest strength is still available even when the outside world feels chaotic. You cannot command every outcome, and you do not need to. What you can shape is your attention, your response, and your next action. When life feels heavy, return to what is still yours. Your breath is yours. Your choices are yours. Your inner voice is yours. Small ownership brings quiet power back into the room. If tonight feels uncertain, choose one controllable thing and do it gently. Make your bed, drink water, write a thought down, or simply sit without arguing with the moment. Stoic strength is often quiet. It grows through repeated acts of inner order, not dramatic displays of control. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When you feel lost, it is tempting to believe the event itself has destroyed your peace. But often the first wound comes from the event, and the second wound comes from the story you keep repeating about it. Stoic practice asks you to pause between the event and the reaction. In that pause, dignity returns. You may still hurt, but you are no longer helpless. A calmer interpretation can become the beginning of a calmer life. This does not mean denying emotion. It means refusing to let emotion become the only narrator. You can feel grief, fear, and confusion while still choosing a response that protects your peace. That is not weakness. That is maturity shaped through practice. Tonight's reflection is built around finding a steadier response to let go of love and move on. Not as a slogan, and not as pressure to become perfectly calm. The goal is to create a little distance between the feeling and the reaction, enough distance to choose dignity instead of panic. The Stoic answer is not emotional numbness. It is emotional leadership. You can feel the ache and still refuse to let the ache drive every decision. You can feel uncertainty and still act with care. You can feel regret and still avoid adding another careless choice on top of it. Before sleep, the mind often exaggerates what daylight could handle more easily. So tonight, lower the scale of the problem. You do not need to solve letting go and healing. You only need to make one calmer agreement with yourself: I will not make this night harder by rehearsing every possible wound. A steadier life is built through repetitions like this. Notice, separate, choose, return. Nothing glamorous is required. Only the quiet refusal to let one heavy thought become the master of the whole inner world. A search like this usually comes from someone who has already tried thinking harder. But thinking harder is not always thinking better. Stoicism invites a cleaner question: what can I do in the next hour that would make my mind more orderly and my actions more honest? Begin with the boundary between what is yours and what is not yours. Your past may not be yours to rewrite. Another person's judgment may not be yours to command. Tomorrow's outcome may not be yours to guarantee. But your posture, your words, your next small act, and the way you speak to yourself are still within reach. Let the body become part of the philosophy. Slow the breath, unclench the jaw, relax the hands. These are not small details. A tense body can convince the mind that danger is everywhere. A softer body gives wisdom a place to land. If you remember only one thing from this part, remember this: peace is not found by controlling every condition. Peace begins when your response becomes less automatic and more aligned with the person you are trying to become. Many people search for this exact feeling because it is not abstract philosophy to them. It is the private moment when how to let go of love and move on becomes too loud to ignore. Stoicism helps by making the problem smaller and more workable. It asks, what is happening, what story am I adding, and what response still belongs to me? Do not turn the feeling into an identity. A tired mind says, this is who I am now. A steadier mind says, this is what I am experiencing right now. That small change matters. Experiences move. Identities harden. Stoic reflection keeps the door open for movement. If nothing feels resolved, that is still acceptable. Stoicism does not demand a perfect ending to every thought. Sometimes the win is simply refusing to feed the worst version of the story. Sometimes the practice is resting before certainty arrives. Tomorrow may still ask difficult things of you, but you do not have to meet it already defeated. Rest as an act of discipline. Let the mind stop practicing fear and start practicing steadiness. The reason this theme matters is simple. How to let go of love and move on is rarely solved by one dramatic realization. It softens when the mind stops wrestling with the entire future and returns to one honest choice. That is where Stoic practice becomes practical rather than decorative. If the thought returns again and again, do not meet it with violence. Meet it with structure. Write down the fear, separate fact from prediction, and choose one action that would still be wise even if the emotion stays for a while. Calm often follows order, it does not always arrive before it. The night does not need your entire life story. It only needs a cleaner ending for today. Let this be enough. You noticed the pattern, you named the feeling, and you chose not to surrender your whole piece to it. Carry this sentence with you: the feeling can be real without being the ruler. It may visit, but it does not have to govern. Every time you return to a wiser response, you train the mind to trust itself again. Tonight's reflection is built around finding a steadier response to let go of love and move on. Not as a slogan, and not as pressure to become perfectly calm. The goal is to create a little distance between the feeling and the reaction, enough distance to choose dignity instead of panic. The Stoic answer is not emotional numbness. It is emotional leadership. You can feel the ache and still refuse to let the ache drive every decision. You can feel uncertainty and still act with care. You can feel regret and still avoid adding another careless choice on top of it. Before sleep, the mind often exaggerates what daylight could handle more easily. So tonight, lower the scale of the problem. You do not need to solve letting go and healing. You only need to make one calmer agreement with yourself: I will not make this night harder by rehearsing every possible wound. A steadier life is built through repetitions like this. Notice, separate, choose, return. Nothing glamorous is required. Only the quiet refusal to let one heavy thought become the master of the whole inner world. Letting go is not forgetting your pain. It is refusing to let pain keep directing your life. Healing often starts the moment you stop negotiating with the past.